Hello and welcome to a special lineup review. This lineup is from BLusk44. He won the honor, and believe me, it is a very big honor, of having his spy team reviewed by myself and Drew Dinkmeyer by being the Discord member of the month in August. If you guys are not in the Discord yet, I really think that you're missing out on a lot of value that comes with the sub, particularly in the props department. And there's also a lot of good discussion going on there with a lot of smart people who are both subs. And then there's also the people, ETR people, just hanging out there. Drew, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Adam. I want to look ahead to week 2, but, we got to do a little bit of review on week 1. So here we are.
Yeah, highly recommend Drew and Mike's look back at week 1. We're going to do a little bit more looking back at week 1 here through the lens of BLusk's lineup. BLusk has this in the spine. The first thing whenever I review a lineup, whenever I think about a team, I think about what the contest is. So this was a $100 buy-in, 555-person field, single entry. Pretty flat payouts, as you can see here. 1K to first, 10th to 750. I mean, you don't see that very often on DraftKings, where 10th is actually more than 10% of first. This might have been one of the later spies that they put up after one of the first ones filled or something like that. But when you first think of this, Drew, 555 entries, very flat payouts, what kind of teams are you thinking about?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that I think about is that you probably don't need to go too far off the radar, but you still want to have a point of differentiation where you know that this particular spot in your lineup is going to create leverage on the field, either through correlation or ideally through low utilization by the field. So players that are sub 10% owned and whatnot. And in really large field stuff, I think you need more of that. You need to turn the lever a little bit further in terms of being contrarian to try to differentiate from yourself from the field. But with 500 entries or so, you also want to be a little bit more aware of how much ownership can condense on a few spots. You can see players get really, really chalky, things that someone might be 30% in the Millie Maker, but they could be like 60% in these types of contests. So the really, really heaviest projected chalk, I think you want to generally try to avoid unless you are super, super confident it's like a really cheap running back that has a full workload and no competition, things like that. So those are the things I think of when I think of a mid 500s person field.
Yeah, okay. And, I know some people ask, well, do I have to do the double stack? Do we have to do the bring back in such a small field? I still like to do it because I'm still trying to get first. Now, you can make a case here that with these payouts, first place isn't worth that much because, hey, fourth place is not that far off, 40% of first. But I still like to do the double stack. I still like to bring it back. And that is what BLusk did. Kyler, Rondale, Hopkins, that was one of my favorite doubles of the week. I thought I played that in one spot as well. Bring back with AJ Brown. I mean, absolutely no problem. That's where I would start to think about teams for tournaments like this. What's my double and what's my bring back? I really like this double and this bring back. I know that the ownership here isn't ideal as they're all kind of in the double digits, but it's certainly not out of control. And we knew that. I mean, our ownership projections were certainly on these guys. We knew that Kyler and Rondale and Hopkins and AJ Brown were not going to get out of control. What do you think about that double and bring back, Drew?
Love that double. That was one of my highest targeted games this week. It was my highest targeted game. I was on a little bit more on the side of Tannehill stacks, which didn't work out quite as well, but the Kyler stacks are just as good. A little bit higher projected ownership, but not a ton. And so you could still get away with those in small field or even large field. And I love doubling, even though people ask, well, with Kyler Murray, the rushing upside, do you really need to have a second receiver? In this case, the second receiver that was chosen here is the stone minimum, Rondale Moore. And so I really love the opportunity to double a quarterback, even if they have rushing upside, with a second cheap piece that I feel like has a decent enough floor, which with the way we saw Rondale Moore's utilization in the preseason, a lot of stuff around the line of scrimmage, low ADOT stuff, the floor was going to be pretty good. And we've seen his big play proclivity at Purdue that suggested, hey, there could be more as well here. So I loved this game, loved targeting it. It was one of our stronger game scores on DK and in the game scores article as well. So I think that is all a very strong foundation to this lineup.
I want to highlight one thing Drew said there. I would not run a Kyler double with DeAndre Hopkins 7,800 and another receiver that was like 6K. Yep. That's not what I would do, because you can run the Kyler double here because Rondale Moore did not need to give you that much at 3K to pay it off. He had 10.8 points. Could have been certainly better, could have been worse, but either way, he was stone min 3K. Big difference there when you're running rushing quarterbacks, what kind of doubles you're talking about in terms of how much they cost. All right. After this, you have a somewhat chalky team. I wouldn't say chalky, but you don't have a super contrarian stack. I might be looking to get a little bit weird in some spots after I run this stack, at least in one spot. And B-Lux did not get weird really in any spots. He ate the mega chalk on Kyle Pitts. The biggest thing that I hate about this lineup, and I think it's a great lineup overall, the biggest thing I hate about this lineup, though, is playing Falcons D. We knew that this was going to be the absolute stone cold chalk. I tried not to play Falcons defense at all in tournaments because I didn't think the Falcons defense was even that great of a play. I played them in cash because I was like, whatever, they're stone minimum. But you could have pivoted to Houston, to Cincinnati. There were a ton of cheap ones that had just as similar a projection range of outcomes as the Falcons. So to me, eating the Pitts chalk and eating the Falcons chalk and kind of eating the Kamara chalk and some of this other stuff, once you already have a somewhat chalky stack, I think wasn't maybe contrarian enough. But what do you think, Joe?
Yeah, that would be exactly my take as well. The cumulative ownership of this lineup is somewhere in like the 180 range, and that starts to get pretty hefty, even for smaller field stuff, where you have to be pretty much perfect because you're going to overlap with enough of your players that it's going to be hard for you to really differentiate from the field. And for me, the easiest point of differentiation would always be that defense. I'd want to get away from chalky defenses as much as I can. And now in this instance, the lineup kind of led there because if you're filling out your defense last, there was no leftover salary cap here. That being said,
Bengals.
You could have pivoted straight to the Bengals. But that being said, I would have the moves I would have made is I probably would have flipped Alvin Kamara, probably would have flipped Marvin Jones, probably would have flipped Falcons D into some combination of mid-tier, like more balanced spends, where each of those pieces would, maybe if you went like Kamara to like Mixon or something like that, you would free up enough salary where, yes, Mixon is going to be owned a decent bit, probably not as much as Kamara, but whoever you move up to from Marvin Jones or the Falcons D is not going to be owned at all. And so those are the types of pivots that I would make to try to create a little bit more differentiation instead of kind of jamming in. Pitts I think is fine because I think Pitts has like a unique upside. We looked at it as a mispricing on the whole. Tight end's a position that's hard to, when you differentiate, you have to get two things right. You have to not only fade the chalk, but then you have to identify a tight end that actually, does something that differentiates. And most tight ends, most weeks don't. So I think that part is fine, but the Kamara, and I think Antonio Gibson is fine, like 15%, really big upside for Antonio Gibson, mid-tier price tag, totally fine. But the Kamara, Marvin Jones, Falcons, combined right there for about 70% of ownership in the lineup, I think you could have gotten that down to like a combination that was like 20%, and that would have been a more differentiated lineup.
Yeah. One thing I'll say that I thought he did well here was one of the group of Kamara, CMC, Dalvin, right? And one of the group of Marvin, Marquez, Callaway, and Elijah Moore, because we knew those three. I mean, that was the obvious cash construction were those three running backs and those three wide receivers. So only having one of each of those buckets, I think, is something B-Lux did well. Like, I would have hated to see Kamara and Dalvin or Marvin and Elijah Moore, and stuff like that. So I think thinking about it that way about combos, because a lot of people in this type of contest are just going to put in their cash lineup. And I'm sure a lot of people did just that. Totally agree with Drew about getting up into the mid-range. There were so many guys I liked, Jerry Jeudy, DJ Moore, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. There were so many guys in the mid-range where you could get up off of Marvin 4 by coming down for Kamara. Totally.
And even Marvin's teammates, if you still wanted to attack Jacksonville, you had Laviska Shenault, you had DJ Shark. Those guys didn't outperform Marvin substantially, but in terms of the probabilities of creating a lineup that differentiates you from the field, I'd rather play those guys at 5 to 6% ownership or less than I would at Marvin at 18 on this specific lineup build when it comes with a Kamara that's at almost 30, when it comes with a Falcons that's at 20 plus.
One last thing I'd say about Pitts, I thought about this a lot, like Pitts into just absolutely massive ownership, because by the time Saturday night came, I was like, oh my God, everybody is playing Kyle Pitts in every possible format. And I thought a lot about what to do with that in tournaments. I still played some Pitts. I played some Conklin. I played some Everett. I played some Kittle. I played some Kelsey, but I didn't play Hawkinson, which I kind of hated myself for because he was right in that Pitts range. And I knew that he had a chance to get 7, 8, 9 catches, which is obviously absolutely massive in DraftKings full PPR format. One thing I will say about tight end is that tight end and defense correlates fine together. I kind of like playing tight end and defense. I just don't like playing Falcons defense into the chalk here at all. Anything else on this lineup? I do want to take a look at the first place lineup quickly, but anything else on this B-Lusk Discord member of the month lineup?
No, I think we covered it well.
Okay, the team that won, obviously, Drew, and I did a whole rant on this on the solo pod. It's like that crypto meme where like the morons say play Mahomes doubles, and the alphas, the super smart guys play Mahomes doubles, and all the rest of us in the middle are overthinking it. I mean, my God, the Mahomes doubles wins. I mean, such a high, and I get it. It's expensive, and we think we're going into, and we think it's too obvious. It's not. Look at the ownership. Look at it.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill 9.7, Kelsey 13, Mahomes 6.7. If you would have said before the week, ask anybody. You go to a bar, you say, what's going to win this week? Oh, Mahomes, Kelsey, Tyreek, the best quarterback in the history of the NFL, only throwing to 2 guys. And the bringbacks weren't owned. I mean, Nick Chubb 4% in this lineup. How did we not play more Mahomes doubles, Drew? It's just so obvious.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because I'm guilty of that as well. I probably played around the field level. I didn't take a big stand on it. And looking back, especially with the softer pricing of week 1, where it was pretty affordable to be able to play that combination and still fill out a competent lineup. And I thought this lineup was really sharp in the sense that the pieces that it got salary relief from, like Chase Edmonds in particular, I thought was such a good GPP play this week, because look at that, 8% utilization rate in these tournaments at 4,600. You get exposure to the big offense that you think is going to really do well. You also, if you think like Chase Edmonds is going to do well, you probably think it's under certain game scripts that might not be as favorable to the game itself kind of going off, right? Because Chase Edmonds might get a rushing touchdown or different things like that. But also T. Higgins came in way less utilized than I thought he was going to be. I mean, I thought T. Higgins was going to be 17 to 22%. And coming in at 9%. And basically what happened there is that Keelan Cole ruled out, funneling ownership down to Elijah Moore, obviously Marquez Callaway and Marvin Jones as well, just kind of cut out the 4s. And so T. Higgins, Corey Davis, a lot of good performers in the 4s this week that you could still kind of get away from the field. And yes, they played some chalkier with Marvin Jones and Elijah Moore. I think at some, it's, when you're differentiated in all these spots, like nobody's going to play Chubb. Not enough people are playing Mahomes and Kelsey and Hill together, and very few people are playing Edmonds. I think you can start to eat some of that, especially in these smaller fields. That didn't work out, but didn't matter because the differentiation from the Mahomes stack was just so dominant.
Yeah, I don't even like playing Marvin Jones and Elijah Moore together. I don't even like playing Falcons D, but it doesn't matter. Just play the Mahomes double and you print. I mean, I am so sick over it. I'm too tilted to go on, Dink. We're going to have to cut it off right here. All right. Congrats to B-Loss. Thanks for being an important member of our Discord and contributing so much. We appreciate you. If you guys want to sign up for the Discord, just go to the Our Team tab at the top of the site. It is for subscribers only. Go to the Our Team tab and you'll find instructions on there on how to sign up. For Discord, I would explain to you how to sign up right now, but I am a stone cold boomer and I have no idea how you would sign up for the Discord. 4, Drew. 4, producer Adam. I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.